everybody, welcome back to the Chaotic Little Book Corner. My name's Acacia. Today I'm going to be doing my wrap-up for the Book Buddy Readathon wrap-up. And my buddy was Amanda Center. I'll link her channel down below. The hosts were Swirly Girly Reads and Eleanor from Eleanor Reads, and I will link their channels down below as well. This readathon went from the 6th to the 12th. I read all of the books that I was expecting to read. I think I did pretty well. I actually only read the books that I thought I was going to read, and I didn't go over the top because I read so much that I needed a break afterwards, and I started Shirley by Charlotte Bronte, and I was like, okay, this is what I'm going to read for my 600-page book, so I just kind of have been going very slowly with that. So now I have to wait until I pick my next book, and we shall see what that is. I don't know yet. So I'm going to go in order of last to first read, so backwards. The last book that I read was Among Others by Jo Walton. Now, I feel that this book is better served for those who are fans of fantasy and sci-fi. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a really interesting kind of fairy tale-esque twist. I read it in a very different way than Amanda Center had explained it. And of course I picked up on potential mental health issues, being that things were not real. They were potentially hallucinated. And that's how I read it. And it worked. I felt a lot of connection to the main character, Maury. I really enjoyed her as a character. I thought her father was very strange, and her mother was just bad words. It was really a weird story for me, and I had trouble with it. I enjoyed it. And I had trouble with it because I didn't understand all of the sci-fi fantasy references. And I did find myself curious about some of the books, but I don't know if I'm curious enough to pick them up or if I'm just curious about, that sounds interesting. So there's that. Then I got depressed and I read Revolutionary Road by Richard Yates, and I think I had read this before. According to my Goodreads, I had. And I remembered a lot of it. So this book is not for those who are looking for a warm, fuzzy feeling book. This book is darker, and it has very unlikable but lovable characters at the same time. I felt a lot of sympathy for both characters in this, Frank and April. I felt a lot of want to help and want to fix, but there was a lot of missing each other. So like he would feel one way towards her and it would be lovely, but she would just completely backtrack and be like, no, I have no interest, and vice versa. And so they were constantly missing each other as far as relationship moments went, and so it was very hard for me to find this to be the most enjoyable read ever because I was just so stressed out the whole time by their missing each other. I do enjoy it. I recommend it to somebody if they are interested in the 1950s suburbia perfected lifestyle and what that actually might have looked like versus what the TVs may make it look like, because I think this is a more honest depiction of that kind of world and how it's not perfect. In fact, it's far from it. I really enjoyed this book. Fingersmith, I have done a whole review on this before, and I will link it down below. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it less the third time than the second time. I think it's because I already knew what was coming, and also, poor Amanda. I felt so bad because I was all excited to like read and digest and get all excited with someone who hadn't read it for a couple moments, and Amanda's just so smart that she kind of saw certain things coming, and I was like, dang it. So that kind of took the wind right out of my sails. But I will link my review of this down below. I still feel it's a 5-star read, and I still highly recommend it, and I will link that down below. I've done a full review on this as well. Fat is a Feminist Issue by Susie Orbach. This brought up a lot of emotions, a lot of feelings, a lot of pain and self-hatred. It was a good book, but it wasn't fantastic, and I feel like somebody needs to do this now. I feel like this was written in the 70s, and we need to do it again, and we need to do it now, and we need to talk about what's relevant now, and we need to just, like, we got to bring it forward, because this conversation is still a big conversation, and we have more information, so somebody needs to write this and make it a conversation again. I think the closest thing to this is Things No One Tells a Fat Girl, and I loved that book as well. So that's another option, but this one is decent. It's just not great. I'll link my review down below. And then the last book, or the first book that I read, was The Dangers of Proximal Alphabet by Kathleen Alcott. And I've been waiting to read this because I was so sure it was going to be a 5-star read, and I was going to adore it, and I was going to love it. And I liked it. I did. I enjoyed it. It's solid 4 stars. I think it's definitely a stranger, more dark story than I was expecting. It had a lot more borderline inappropriate relationships than I was comfortable with. But at the same time, they were totally appropriate by social standards. It just felt really inappropriate, and there was just so much was happening here. There was a very interesting long-term relationship commentary on two people and being so much in each other's lives from beginning to end sort of thing. It was really well done, really well executed. I enjoyed it immensely. I think Mercedes does a better job of explaining it than I ever could. If I can find her review on this, I will, and I will link it down below. If not, basically, the way she explains it, it is about two people who are in each other's lives, and they're raised almost as siblings, and they end up falling in love, and this is their story. Yeah. That's the best way to explain it. So that's what I'm going to go with. So those are the 5 books that I read for the BookTube readathon, and I will see you guys very soon.